Hi there, it's Nick back again on the Get Me Off Grid video blog again talking about water. Now I mentioned in my previous video the possibility of using Peltier coolers as a means of getting condensation and collecting condensation from the air using of course electricity, which you might have derived from your solar panels, and then basically using that water as a source of washing and or drinking water per se. That particular system has some problems, and I just want to highlight a few things about water purification. But prior to going into my next solutions, obviously I'm still incredibly looking forward to my solar cells coming through so I can start creating the first panel. But here we go. This is from a particular blog about water, or a website about water, and I'll try and provide you with a link if I can. It says here, water treatment steps. Number 1, have your water tested for contaminants. Well, I think you can probably jump to the conclusion that anything that comes off heat sinks or the inside of a dehumidifier would probably have plenty of contaminants anyway. Okay. Number 2, remove fine sand, silts, clay and other particles using mechanical filter or sedimentation. So you filter the water, or you let it stand until all of the gunk has gone to the bottom, then you basically decant off the stuff at the top. 3, treat bacterial contamination using chlorination or other forms of disinfection. There are water treatment pills that you can get, but of course they're only part of the solution, they're not the complete solution. They just kill the germs, but it leaves chlorine in the water. Okay. Then it says step number 4, remove hydrogen sulfide gas and other odor-causing substances using chlorination, already mentioned, and oxidizing filter or activated carbon. So essentially activated carbon would be an easier solution for you to get your hands on. Probably find a way of making activated carbon, and I'll be looking into that later on as we go through the process. Step number 5, remove insoluble iron and magnesium particles using a mechanical filter, water softener for small amounts of dissolved iron and manganese, an oxidizing filter for higher amounts of dissolved iron and manganese, a chlorinator followed by a mechanical filter, or an activated carbon filter for very high amounts of dissolved iron and manganese. So essentially, if you can find ways of stocking up on activated carbon, then essentially that would be a good way of removing a lot of the nasties from the water. Step number 6, treat for hardness using a water softener. Well, some hardness could be good for you, so let's not worry about that, especially if we're talking about things like a dehumidifier water, which is by its very nature in its raw form quite bad for you because it's got dust, it's got pathogens, it's got all kinds of things which haven't been killed by the process of just distilling it out of the air. But there won't be any hardness in it. Okay. Step 7, neutralize acidity using a neutralizing filter. I don't think that would necessarily be necessary considering the kinds of water I'm talking about. Rainwater, water from heat sinks, water from a dehumidifier, basically water taken out of the air from one form or another. Step number 8, remove volatile organic chemicals, certain pesticides and radon using an activated carbon filter. Again, activated carbon is really important. So again, I'm going to have to go into how that's made properly so we can make that at home. So maybe even get wood, make charcoal, turn the charcoal into activated charcoal, and so on and so forth, to see if we can do that. More research required, but will come. And finally, remove heavy metals such as lead, mercury, arsenic or cadmium with reverse osmosis units or a distiller. Now, distillers you can actually buy just straight off eBay or straight off the internet. About £135 for a distiller. Alright, and you put a gallon of water in it. Actually it's an American gallon, which would be about 4 litres here in the United Kingdom. And you leave it turned on for 4 hours and you get 4 litres of distilled water. I suppose the main message of this particular website that I'm looking at is that there is no one singular like magic bullet for turning your bad water into good water, but there's lots of other different stages you need to go through, of which the most important ones appear to be on the outside, and in my opinion on the basis of what I've seen and what I've read, chlorination as disinfection to kill all kinds of germs, filtration through activated carbon, and distillation, which is cheaper than reverse osmosis, but has a downside in the fact it uses energy. Now, I haven't seen any for sale in the UK, although I'm still looking, but you can apparently get stovetop distillers, and you just fill them full of your water, shove it on your stove, and basically keep it hot, and you will get your distilled water. So there's ways of doing it in an off-grid setting if you don't want to use electricity or an electrically powered distiller to actually get the distilled water. But electricity is very convenient, so if I can make enough solar, and when I'm using it, I can keep good track of how much solar energy I'm actually storing in the batteries, and how much I've got available to do things such as water purification, as well as water making, if I was to get, let's say, not only my off-grid pure sine inverter, but I was also to get a good quality dehumidifier, which I could even use outside to drag moisture from the air and use that as potential drinking water once it's gone through the purification process. There's a lot of thinking to be done here, but essentially it is possible to create something like one of these big, powerful, expensive devices costing £3,750, which are used for water purification, with a few chemicals, with the right type of, or the right volume producing dehumidifier, and a distiller, which will provide you with your off-grid water for drinking. Although it will take planning and preparation, it can still be done, and at a lower cost than some of the key or major, really glossy looking, office water coolers which take the water from the air. Okay? So, this is what I've been looking into today. Look forward to speaking to you very soon, and keep your fingers crossed for me for the purposes of creating that wonderful first solar